tricky stuff you're doing on the board.
Yeah, the Aristocrats Act 2 deck actually had a pretty good matchup against Reanimator when they had the Skursdark High Priest main deck, because you know High Priest is just such an effective card against Reanimator because you can start cranking out 5/5 demons on turn 3, and there's not a lot of interaction with Reanimator. They don't have a lot of removal. They do have some Abrupt Decays and some Garruk Relentless, but generally it's a little too slow, and the Aristocrat deck can actually crank out some demons before you can really do anything about it. But this version, it actually gives up some of its strengths against Reanimator in order to be better against some of the Naya and Beatdown decks that you see out there. So that's why you kind of saw this deck rise in popularity, because there were just more Naya decks in position.
Yeah. And Blast in Attack, Boros Reckoner is also a real thing against Reanimator.
Yeah.
That this deck does not have access to.
It's another backdoor kill that this deck just doesn't have access to against Reanimator, but looks like Steven is going to 5 cards now. But the other thing about Aristocrats is Aristocrats was actually favored against Reanimator prior to Sin Collector. Sin Collector, I think, actually makes the matchup a little more troublesome just because it can take out Lingering Souls, which is actually one of the key cards in this matchup. It allows you to generate multiple creatures on the board along with putting pressure on your opponent in the air, which is, you know, again, Reanimator has a tough time dealing with flying threats. So I think that Sin Collector is actually a pretty good card against Aristocrats, either the red version or the green version. But again, Steven's going to be on 5 here, so it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he can pull this one out. Angel Serenity is still very, very good in this matchup, but it depends on, can Bonde get an early start with a High Priest active? Because if the High Priest gets active early, it's pretty much game over for Junk Reanimator. So Steven going to check out his 5-card hand, see if he's happy with it. And it looks like he is, so we are off the races. And Michael Bonde has a turn 1 Overgrowth Tomb. Looks like Steven does have a Restoration Angel and a Thragtusk, so if he can get that active,
that's a combo.
That is a combo, but there is that High Priest. Can Michael actually activate it on turn 3? That's the question. If he has a Doom,
pretty impressive.
He does have a Doom Traveler in his hand. He doesn't have white mana though, so he's not going to be able to go Doom Traveler, Cartel Aristocrat next turn. So there's an Avacyn Pilgrim. So Michael draws for the turn. He's a Deathrite Shaman, a Tragic Slip. Still no white mana though, so High Priest just has to come in for 1. So pretty good hand for Michael. Unfortunately, he just doesn't have the white mana. Otherwise, his deck would just be rolling right now.
Yeah.
He has the Appetite of Brains. He has a Deathrite Shaman. So Deathrite comes down. Are we going to see an Appetite? Or yep, no, just Tragic Slip on the Avacyn Pilgrim.
Yep. Doesn't want Steven to be able to generate a lot of mana this turn. You know, Restoration Angel is the big flashpoint with him getting to 4 mana. Perhaps Garruk Relentless.
I'm actually surprised he went for it that turn though, because there's not much that Steven can do on turn with 4 mana. I mean, obviously you can cast a Restoration Angel, but you can actually activate Morbid if you Tragic Slip on your turn. If you happen to draw a white source and play the Doom Traveler, you could actually activate the Skursdark High Priest. But
yeah, Garruk Relentless is the big thing to be worried about there.
Yeah. So Thragtusk gets taken by Appetite of Brains, and looks like we don't have much else beyond that. Yeah, Michael did have the Cartel Aristocrat and the Doom Traveler. Yeah, so he basically had the nut start. Unfortunately, he just didn't have white mana. But he's still in reasonable shape. Steven doesn't have much action now after that Appetite of Brains. He still has the Restoration Angel, but beyond that, not much else going on. And Deathrite Shaman is going to be making sure that there's no Unburial Rite shenanigans later on. Oh wow, Woodland Cemetery, so still no white mana for Michael.
And it looks like a hand of 4 white cards at this point.
Yeah, it looks like there's a Cartel Aristocrat, Doom Traveler, Lingering Souls. Unfortunately, no white mana for Michael right now, so giving Steven a couple of turns to maybe draw something.
And he has a lot of huge draws.
Yeah, there's definitely, yeah. Let's see if is he casting a Restoration Angel? Yeah, it looks like he is going to get that Restoration Angel out there. So now we have a draw here. Looks like it's just another land. So nothing but land for Steven right now. He attacks Michael down from 20 to 17. Yeah, Steven does. Michael's still obviously much more favored right here. He has much more white sources in his deck to draw than bombs that Steven can draw right here. So if one white source, and I'd say it's going to be a pretty good shape here, but it looks like he just drew a flip card, which is probably Garrick Relentless. I believe it's the only flip card in his deck.
Yep.
Unfortunately, he still, even though it's a green card, he doesn't have 4 mana, so still can't cast it. There's a mulch.
So we might be able to start to get the ball rolling a little bit.
Yeah, so he's going to be able to actually get some land off the top of his deck. Unfortunately, that Deathrite Shaman is going to make sure that no Unburial Rites get cast this turn. So the Cavern that was played was named Angel, and then, wow, really bad flip there. He got 1 land, and he had to mill over 2 threats, a Thragtusk and an Angel Serenity, which isn't exactly where you want to be when there's an active Deathrite Shaman on your opponent's side. So Steven plays another land, attacks for 3. Michael likely just going to activate that Deathrite Shaman, getting rid of the Angel Serenity and gaining 2 life.
Yeah, because there's only 1 spell left in the graveyard, it makes sense to go after the creatures. You can kind of get the mulch whenever, but you want to shut down as many angles to reanimation as possible.
So let's see. Wow, an Obstinate. Yet another card Michael can't cast. So he's just, his deck is just not giving him what he needs. And Steven is slowly but surely trying to draw his way back into it. Again, he's not getting too much action, but Michael... Oh, and there's an Abrupt Decay. So pretty good draw for Steven. It will turn off that Deathrite Shaman and actually give him much more outs to draw now.
Yep.
So let's see here. What is Steven going to do here? I'd imagine we're still going to at least attack.
He doesn't really have that. He has to basically go under Deathrite Shaman because he can't even really race with his Restoration Angel.
Yeah, because the 2 life.
Yeah, Deathrite just gains so much life in a match like in a pacing of the game like this.
So passes the turn. Michael activates Deathrite Shaman. In response, I wouldn't be surprised to see if Steven just uses the Abrupt Decay there. Yep. And again, I think Steven would have preferred to go after the High Priest, but again, I think given the situation, he has to just go with what he can. And Michael draws yet another Lingering Souls, another card he just can't cast. So now Steven's draws are really live now.
Yeah, especially since he went after a spell instead of the Thragtusk on a turn. Now he's drawing very live to a reanimation spell. Now Unburial Rites is very powerful.
Now Unburial Rites is great. Grizzly Savage is great. Mulch is great. And here comes a Thragtusk.
There's another.
And Michael just has to. He draws another Cartel Aristocrat. Is forced to discard a Lingering Souls, which is good next turn. But again, maybe a little too late. And
an Abrupt Decay off the top for Steven here is going to shut down that High Priest angle.
Yeah. So High Priest goes down, and now Michael is able to drops to 2. And at this point, pretty much, if he draws a white source, it's probably going to be a shock land, so he can't even play it untapped. Yep, it's a Godless Shrine.
Naturally, Godless Shrine.
So now you can flashback Lingering Souls, buy him a turn to chump block. But beyond that, he's going to need a couple more good rips and a couple more blanks from Steven. So let's see what Steven draws. An Avacyn Pilgrim for Steven. We're going to have a chump, and Avacyn Pilgrim comes down here. So now maybe another land. We can see a Lingering Souls, flashback Lingering Souls to buy yourself another turn. Unfortunately, it's another Godless Shrine, so not even like a Sun Petal Grove.
You can still fall to 1 here. I mean, you can still cast Lingering Souls.
Yep.
Let the Avacyn Pilgrim come through, and then next turn you have 5 mana to work with.
Yeah, so he's still, not in terrible shape. He still needs Steven to blank on a couple of draws, but he will only fall to 1. I don't think Steven has Gavany Township in his deck, so
he
doesn't
has
have to worry about that.
Vault of the Archangel, but yeah, no.
Here we go. Do we have no?
There's
so
a
just
land.
Another land, so it's another blank. So Michael Fox goes down to 1, is able to chump block the 2 biggest creatures. Now, what are we going to get a draw here? Okay, so that was a reasonable draw. So now we can get Obzerat and Doom Traveler can come down, I believe. Does he have enough white for that? Yeah, that Isolated Chapel is huge because now Obzerat can bring him up to 3.
Well, he still needs to have a flying
he needs a flyer, yeah. So he needs to flashback Lingering Souls and then cast. So we might get double Doom Traveler, Lingering Souls.
Yeah, he just needs to get the breathing space to be able to play Obzerat, and then he can start crawling back in. So I mean, he can play Cartel Aristocrat, 2 Doom Travelers, and Flashback Lingering Souls, which gives him a huge presence of chump blockers, and that might open up the space to then get Obsidat into play.
Yeah, and he could actually kill the Thragtusk if he chooses. Yeah, so getting that Aristocrat out there could be good. And it also protects him a little bit from Sever the Bloodline.
Yes.
So, yeah, I definitely think you want to get that Cartel Aristocrat out there. So we're going to see double green here. So 4 mana tapped here. Oh, Garrick.
So we're going to go play Garrick and Flashback Lingering Souls, I suppose, is our line.
Okay. So you make a wolf here. So this is a little risky because he exposes himself a little bit to Sever the Bloodline.
Yeah, I guess he's just shooting down the Avacyn's Pilgrim and then...
And Flashback Lingering Souls. So, okay, so either way, he's still, if Steven blanks for another turn, doesn't draw Angel of Serenity or Sever the Bloodline, Michael should be able to chump block and survive this turn.
I still feel like I would have preferred to...
Oh, wow.
Here comes a mulch. I still feel like I would have preferred to just spend that turn getting as many chump blockers into play as possible.
Yeah. Now it's really bad if he hits a Sever, because he can actually flash it back. So he hits 2 lands instead. No Unburial Rights, so it looks like Michael will be able to survive this turn. Just has 2 lands. Steven just has lands in his hand. Both Restoration Angel and Thragtusk will come over and get chump blocked by the Lingering Souls tokens. So now Michael's slowly but surely trying to claw his way back into this one.
Yep.
And, you know, this is one of those situations where getting land flooded is so much worse than getting mana screwed, because you still have all gas in your hand. So if you can eventually draw out of it, you actually have plenty of plays you can make. So let's see how Michael navigates this turn now. So we have Obsidat that can potentially come down. Doom Traveler ×2. We also have double Cartel Aristocrat in our hand, as well as another Lingering Souls.
Yeah, again, he needs to be able to chump block in the air. So he needs to be able to both play Doom Traveler and find a way to sack it, which is Cartel Aristocrat plus Doom Traveler, or have another copy of Lingering Souls.
Yeah, so that's sort of the unfortunate play. If he makes the play of Cartel Aristocrat, Doom Traveler, Flatback, Lingering Souls last turn, he could actually cast the Obsidat this turn and give himself a little more breathing room.
Yeah,
unfortunately, now he just needs to. Obsidat still won't be able to enter the play. So Doom Traveler comes in. He's going to sack it to Garrick to find a creature. Looks like he's going to get Blood Artist to give himself a little more life here.
Yep.
So yeah, Blood Artist, a great find here. If he's able to find another Blood Artist next turn, if Garrick's able to survive, then we're going to start seeing some real fireworks. So Blood Artist goes into his hand.
So I'm assuming we're going to see this plus a Cartel Aristocrat plus another Doom Traveler?
Yeah, I think that's the ideal line right here. You're going to want to get your Sacrifice Engine into play, and then another Doom Traveler. So now you're protected against Sever the Bloodline. So you're still exposed. You're still a little exposed to Angel Serenity, but I think you have enough creatures. Yeah, I think you're actually fine against Angel Serenity right now too.
Another land off the top for Steven.
So, you know, things are, you know, everything was going badly for Michael early on, but now things are going, you know, now that he's actually drawing his white mana, you're seeing the real synergies in his deck.
Yeah, and, you know, the combination of Blood Artist and Obsidat is going to start to give him enough breathing room where he no longer has to worry about, say, Restoration Angel killing him in one shot.
Yeah, he doesn't have to worry about top decks from Steven as much. We're going to see a Restoration come down, just get blocked by Lingering Souls, and it's going to drain Steven for 1 and gain Michael 1 life. Next turn, Michael can actually sacrifice his Doom Traveler to Garrick to find another Blood Artist, play that along with the Lingering Souls, and be in pretty good shape right here. Let's see what he does. Does he want to get Obsidat into play, or does he want to just... I think you really want another Blood Artist. Let's see what Michael does here.
He does have the access to Obsidat plus Doom Traveler this turn, which is very attractive too.
Yeah, but I'm not sure it's as much life, or I'm not sure it's as much life though. I think you'd still rather have the Blood Artist.
Well, you can also just make a token with Garrick this turn, so there's some slight additional upside.
Yeah. Maybe he just wants that Garrick in play for another turn. Yeah, because if he sacrifices a creature now, the Garrick will die. Maybe he doesn't need the Blood Artist right now.
I definitely understand the argument, though. There's a ton of upside in getting that second Blood Artist into play. So
Yeah.
You're actually...
Well, I think if he gets the second Blood Artist in play now, he could actually kill him next turn with the flyers. But either way, Obzedat might be able to kill him next turn too from a double phase. So, nope, looks like he's going to go for the... Yeah, I don't think he wants to give Steven any more turns. I think he just wants to try to kill him as fast as possible. So he's going to drain Steven for one more, get a Lingering Souls token, go up to 3, and get another Blood Artist. If he goes Blood Artist, Doom Traveler, Lingering Souls, I think he should have enough to be able to finish Steven off next turn.
Mm-hmm.
So the Cartel Aristocrat, the Lingering Souls token, the Doom Traveler, that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 10, 11, 12. Yeah, that should be enough.
He's actually lethal this turn, right? Because he can attack with Cartel Aristocrat through one of his sacks.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah,
so it's actually lethal this turn. I'm not sure if he wants to play around Abrupt Decays or anything. But probably, yeah, I don't even think Abrupt Decay. Abrupt Decay on he's just passing the turn, or? No,
he's just checking to see the coast is clear. So now he actually has...
So now, yeah, I can't imagine not going
2,
for it now.
4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, he's got... I think he's well over lethal at this point.
Yeah, he can sack the... Oh, so it looks like he's just going to pass it. Yeah, and I think that's fine, simply because if Steven has a Restoration Angel there...
But he Sin Collected. I mean, the coast.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, he cast a Sin Collector. Yeah, that's right.
Because you can attack with
in
Cartel
that case you have to go for it.
Your Cartel Aristocrat knocks him down to 11.
No, actually 10, because he sacks a creature to give it protection. So he sacks the Doom Traveler to drop Steven to 12 to give it protection from green. Attacks, drops him down to 10, and then or actually 9 because there's double Blood Artist. So he would be dead that turn.
Yeah, I think he had. Yeah.
Either way, I don't think there's a way Michael can lose this game. He has enough creatures in play that he can just sack in response to anything Steven does. So we're just going to get a block here, drop Steven down to 11. Michael goes up to 5. And it looks like Michael's going to be able to pull this game out, despite the fact that he was stuck on only black mana and had 0 spells that he can cast for multiple turns. So here it looks like he might have drawn another Blood Artist. Or no, that's a Tragic Slip.
Still very powerful here.
Yeah.
It's another Blood Artist trigger.
Might just cast. You can cast the Obzedat here too. Yeah.
Sure.
Obzedat comes down, drops Steven down to 9. Sack a Doom Traveler to give your Cartel Aristocrat Pro Green. Drop him down to 7, and then Aristocrat attacks, drop him down to 5.
I really like also Steven's mannerisms here. Just completely non-pulse. Just it's gonna make him kill him.
Yeah,
you
definitely make him go through it. Yeah.
Okay.
So Steven ends up losing that game, despite the fact that it looked like he was going to turn things around. Looked pretty good for him for a while, but then, both players kind of got unlucky in different phases of the game.
Yeah.
So Michael's deck managed to reward him later on, and whoever gets lucky last is usually who wins.
Yeah. I mean, and he actually needed back-to-back-to-back white sources basically to be able to cast, because his hand was so clogged with white cards.
Yeah, it was funny because he drew the Godless Shrine and you thought, oh, well, that wasn't good enough, and then he drew another Godless Shrine, but then he drew the Isolated Chapel, which is perfect, So pretty fortunate, and doesn't matter if you get lucky early. If I get lucky late, that's all I care about.
Yeah, usually the last top deck wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, again, not a bad position for Steven to be in, though. He's going to be able to be on the play. He has to feel pretty good about himself because even though he mulliganed to 5, he's still right in it. Mm-hmm. He got pretty land flooded later in the game. So I think Steven's probably still feeling pretty good about himself. And now he also knows how Michael boarded.
Yes.
I think he has a good idea in terms of what Michael's strategy is after board. So overall, I think Steven's still in pretty good shape for Game 3.
No, I would definitely, especially, being on the play, and I do think that a lot of the way the decks line up against one another favors Junk Reanimator, assuming that his graveyard is not under duress. I mean, is there anything in the...
No,
just
really,
Deathrite Shaman, really?
Deathrite Shaman's really the only card that Michael has to attack the graveyard. He has 3 Sin Collectors, 3 Abrupt Decay, 3 Appetite for Brains. and 2 smite. Beyond that, there's really nothing he has that can go after the graveyard. It's really comes down to Deathrite Shaman. But again, I think High Priest is still very, very good in this matchup. If he can get that active early, and you saw, if Michael had a white sauce on turn 2 or 3, this game's over. Sure. That High Priest is getting activated on turn 3, and 5/5 demons are going to start coming out really soon. So I think that High Priest is still one of the important cards in this matchup, as well as Deathrite Shaman's good, but Steven has plenty of answers to Deathrite Shaman. Yeah. You know, he has Garruk Relentless, he has Sever the Bloodline, he's probably bringing in Abrupt Decay as well, or does he have Abrupt? He has Deadweight.
He has 2 Deadweights in his board and 2 Abrupt Decays made.
Yeah, so Deadweight's probably coming in too, just because you want to be able to deal with Deathrite Shaman, you also want to be able to deal with High Priest, along with getting rid of a Blood Artist. Or even
Varels as well.
Yeah, potentially Varels, potentially Cartellerus, you know, so yeah, I definitely think you want to bring in Deadweight as well.
So I would actually anticipate it's predominantly for these kind of matchups.
Yeah.
Maybe Mono Red as well.
Mono Red, any beatdown deck. So unfortunately, Steven has to mulligan again. Is going down to 6 cards now.
So we've seen this kind of a lot on camera so far in the rounds we covered. Do you think that the Junk Reanimator deck is more inclined to mulligan than other decks in the format because it's 3 colors, because it has a bunch of 5 and 7 cost cards and all these sort of disparate pieces?
Well, I you know, from when I talk to people who play Reanimator a lot, they usually say they mulligan pretty aggressively with the deck just because they can afford to. So I think a lot of times you'll see people mulliganing not because, you know, they got 7 land or just no land. A lot of times they just mulligan because they know they need a certain hand in order to beat certain decks. So, for instance, maybe Steven thought, if I have no way to interact with a High Priest, I can't keep this hand. You know, maybe that's what his plan is. So maybe he mulligans into a card that, like, either an Abrupt Decay or Garruk, you know, and a mana guy. So his 6-card hand is a keeper, and he goes turn 1 Arbor Elf. Looks like we have a turn 1 Swamp from Michael, and a Deathrite Shaman comes down. And let's see, we have a Thragtusk, and pretty good draw for Steven here, even off of mulligan. He has a Cavernous Soul, 2 Cavernous Souls. He also has a Thragtusk, as well as another Avacyn Pilgrim, which will allow him to further ramp up his board, and that Garruk, which is very important in this matchup.
Yeah.
Allows him to kill Deathrite Shaman, deal with Skur's-Dark High Priest, and then, you know, later on, you can just start making tokens and then searching out Thragtusk and the Restoration Angels.
Yeah. So a lot of, as you see the cavern there from Steven naming Angel, this is pretty close to an ideal 6-card hand.
Yeah, pretty solid 6-card hand. He has an answer to High Priest, which again is one of the important cards in this matchup. Now, Michael went turn 1 Deathrite Shaman, turn 2 High Priest. It's going to be interesting to see what does Steven want to kill. I think he wants to probably go after. Oh, well, now if he drew an Umbrella Rites, it gets a little trickier. I still think you probably go after the High Priest here.
Yeah, it seems like you have, since you have Thragtusk, you have just so much kind of general power in the game. You want to shut the door for the ways you can get kind of punked out. And I think letting High Priest be active for 1 turn is just incurring a risk that is not necessary.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy to think, oh, why is a Reanimator deck not killing a Deathrite Shaman? Well, the fact is, Deathrite Shaman's good, but it's not going to win you the game on its own. And the fact is, Steven's deck can function without his graveyard, and Garruk is one of the ways it can do that.
Yes.
Yeah. So Deathrite Shaman attacks the Garruk Relentless and ticks it down to only 1 loyalty counter. Let's see what does Michael have a, looks like Michael has a Tragic Slip, doesn't look like he has a Sacrifice Outlet, but he did have a Doom Traveler and a Tragic Slip, so High Priest probably wouldn't have been able to, no, he has a Blood Artist, so let's see what he does here. He can cast another Deathrite Shaman, he can cast another Blood Artist, or 1 Blood Artist rather.
It's a pretty low impact hand.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have a, this is going to be a type of hand that really struggles to battle through a Thragtusk.
Yeah, it's hard to beat a Thragtusk with this type of hand unless you have your Sacrifice Outlets, which he doesn't have.
And even still, the amount of value generated by the Thragtusk and the token left over is still it's still an upward battle.
And you still have an active Garruk in play. So the Garruk's going to be able to keep making tokens and
set up additional
tutors and everything like that. Yeah. So it looks like Steven drew another Avacyn Pilgrim. Thragtusk probably coming down this turn. Make sure you don't get it stripped with an Appetite for Brains. He's trying to think whether or not he can save the Garruk too. So Garruk's going to make a token. Thragtusk comes down. Yeah, so Thragtusk should survive any attack from Michael. Because even if Michael tries to attack everything, Steven has 2 blockers out, and the loyalty's at 2 now, so Michael can't really effectively attack.
So end of turn, we're going to Tragic Slip our own token.
Interesting. So now he has a flyer that can attack Garrick. There's another blood. It looks like a blood artist. Another blood artist. So Garrick gets ticked down to 1, and we're going to get a blood artist coming down along with a Doom Traveler.
And Steven, it's pretty funny watching Steven just sort of win this nuts and bolts conventional game. I mean, he just does it.
And it's interesting here. There's no mana on Michael's side of the board, so he actually can't activate his Deathrite Shamans. So Steven could actually sacrifice the Thragtusk to Garrick to find another Thragtusk or an Angel Serenity, and just Unburial Rights his Thragtusk now.
I don't know if he has. Does he have black mana to be casting Unburial Rights?
Oh no, it doesn't look like he has any black mana.
Yeah, he can't hard cast right now.
He just has a forest. So it looks like Thragtusk is going to come over, and Garrick will just uptick again, and an Avacyn Pilgrim will come into play.
Well, I think now that Michael has access to the second flyer, I think you might need to consider cashing in Garrick now, because the 2 flyers are just going to take it out.
And just get
whatever it is you want to get.
You probably get an Angel Serenity, because you could actually cast the Angel Serenity next turn. You have a forest in your hand, and you have another Avacyn Pilgrim, so even if he has like a... Yeah, I think Steven has to not attack with Thragtusk there. If he doesn't attack with Thragtusk, then Michael doesn't have a way to sacrifice the Doom Traveler.
Yeah.
So it looks like he's just going to sacrifice the Thragtusk. Or no, he just sacrifices a creature.
He sacrifices
the token.
The token, yeah.
To just get an Angel Serenity. And it looks like Angel Serenity is probably going to be coming down next turn, which is perfect because it can deal with the Deathrite Shamans along with the Blood Artist. And that Unburial Rights will now get turned on.
So yeah, just watching Junk Reanimator, this is kind of the backup plan of the deck, is winning manual style.
Yeah.
Just ramping into awesome things.
And, you know, you're seeing a lot of Blood Artists, but no Sacrifice outlets, which, you know, are much less effective.
Yeah, I imagine we're just going to be sweeping up.
Yep, let's clean things up a little bit. Deal with one of those Blood Artists. And then attack with Thragtusk.
And this is... You know, we were talking about before, Michael's hand just being low impact, not having a lot of power, and maybe because of Deathrite Shaman being pretty well set up to fight Steven if he was on some sort of graveyard value plan, but with Steven just ramping into Garrick Relentless, Thragtusk, and Angel Serenity, hands like this are just pretty poorly equipped to handle that.
So, this play, interesting from Steven, he basically says, I don't care about your Deathrite Shamans, I'm just taking one of your tokens and both your Blood Artists and just smashing down with my 5 power creatures.
Yeah, it's very likely his logic is, I want to take both your Blood Artists, and there's no difference between you having 1 or 2 Deathrite Shamans in play for the purposes of my graveyard.
And so he doesn't even have a black mana to cast the Unburial Rights anyway, so his graveyard, he's probably thinking my graveyard is not really relevant anyway, just deal with my creatures somehow. Unfortunately, one tragic slip from Michael will be able to swing things back in his favor, because he can actually gain 4 life off of those Deathrite Shamans. So he's not in the worst shape right now, but he really needs a removal spell pretty much this turn. So let's see. Looks like he finally drew a Cartel Aristocrat. Unfortunately, a little too late. Now he's just passed back. He still has to contend with all those creatures that are going to be swinging over pretty soon.
Yeah, he's quickly approaching the point where he's going to need a chump block. Steven's still without black mana, so...
Yeah, but he does have a Grizzly Savage, so if he's able to deal with those Deathrite Shamans, then Grizzly Savage can find them a black source potentially. Yeah. So let's see here. Looks like we're just going to take 10 damage, dropping Michael down to 1. Michael doesn't have anything else to exile, just draws a Garrick for the turn. Still has no answer to the flyer. So looks like that's going to be it for Michael. Yep, Michael doesn't have much play right here. Can't deal with a 5/6 flyer in the air at 1 life. Nothing more Steven has to do in this game.
No graveyard for him to attack. to gain some life.
Yeah, no creatures left in any of the graveyards, so Garrett can come down just to show him he has it. He can cast Garrick and maybe gain 2 life, but even that's not enough.
Yeah.
Cast Garrick, kill a Pilgrim. Yeah, he has to play the land, yeah.
Yeah, this is not going to be particularly productive here.
Yeah, he can kill Pilgrim and gain 2 life if he wants, but yeah, again, at 1 life, it's just not enough life.
Yeah, Angel of Serenity still in play.
So Michael just passes the turn after killing an Arbor Elf, and Steven draws a card for his turn. Just gonna attack. Yep. And Michael extends the hand, and Stephen Mann goes up to 6-0 with Junk Reanimator, where Michael Bonde falls to 5-1 with Junk Aristocrats.
And that was a really impressive showing by the Junk Reanimator deck, mulliganing and missing colors of mana, potentially under some amount of duress from Deathrite Shaman, but was simply able to play a conventional accelerate into quality threats plan. Garrett Relentless being especially good against the threats that Michael was presenting, and Steven able to win the match on a mulligan with 3 black cards in his hand at the end of the game.